I'm out here on the far west end of our main 6-acre edible acres site and just finished a nice long day in the heat of the sun working, and thought it'd be nice to do a meandering tour of this new production area. It's starting to ramp up in a real way and being very productive with growing garlic and potatoes, some nursery things and the like. So I'm just going to wander around and show folks where we are at this moment in late July. We still have a bunch of garlic beds to lift and get switched over to fall cover crop. What we've been doing is lifting a bed, say something like that, a couple hundred heads, and this way we can process them. I just talked about this in the last video around the importance of having cut the scapes, so we're going to see smaller heads from those that have the scapes on top. And the focus is that as a bed gets lifted, we crumble the soil and set it to the fall crop that will follow that garlic. So for example, a couple of days ago, the garlic that was in the video we showed, that was in this bed. Probably about 6 or 7 foot by, 14 feet long. Pretty big chunky bed, little walkway through the middle. And so the garlic was lifted, and then we immediately sowed it that day. In fact, before we even left with the garlic, to beets. And so they're just coming up. You can see a row here, walkway, row, and a row. And so they're just tiny germination. Let's see if I can find a few. Okay, well, there's one. There's more to come. This is only a few days ago. But this way the garlic comes out while the soil moisture is high. We're getting it set to another crop. And I'll show you some other beds like that. This was a garlic bed lifted about 10 days ago now, and another wide bed. So I split the middle, bulked out on either side, and then we sowed this to parsnips. That was on 7/12, July the 12th. And they're very slow germinators, so there's a grass. But the parsnip's on its way. We'll have to see. This is a 100-day crop, but it's also very cold tolerant. So the hope is that after the broad forking and deep breaking up of the soil that we did in order to lift the garlic, that these root crops can continue that theme and capture yield, getting us to the fall. I ran a hose from the cisterns all the way over at that Cobb cottage, a bunch of old hoses to get us an easy way to water out here. It trickles, but it's a nice little habitat for frogs and the like, and it's nice to be able to water in these parsnips and beets and radishes in the garlic beds. They definitely need a little bit of watering to get established. I'm also doing a project to get a whole lot more topsoil here. You remember, or you may remember, our hand-dug ponds. In this very dry summer, they are pretty darn dry. This one over here with the metal drum with holes in the bottom, that should still have a little bit of water, little something for the frogs to enjoy, but pretty close to empty out here. So I'm going to try to expand the amount of water holding capacity we have in this landscape, and at the same time harvest a ton of topsoil to top all these hugel mounds with. I just started sketching this really long depression. Will it be a pond? I don't know. It'll be more than anything about holding water higher up in the landscape, at least temporarily. You can see that the area of this is just about twice that of the 2 hand-dug ponds. And I'll explain in much more detail in another video, but I'll hint at it here, the tool that I'm using to break up this soil. It's a BCS rotary plow. I'll talk about that in a minute. But each pass of breaking up the soil, you can see bucket by bucket, I can harvest it out and send it to top new beds with really beautiful, finely textured topsoil. So as more water holding in the depressions in the landscape evolves, we're getting as a yield or as a waste product this soil. You can see I'm using this to cap some raw hugel mounds in the woods, just piles of woody debris. And this was seeded out to black Spanish round radish today. The soil's coming out so loose that I think we'll get amazing winter crops out of this. So it's basically digging a pond piece by piece and extracting all the soil and turning it into raised beds. Here's another kind of raw-ish hugel mound that on this side was covered with soil from digging that pond and set to mustard. And those are looking beautiful in here. This experiment's about 10 or 12 feet wide by about 30 feet long or so. So once it's dug down another few layers, this will probably go down about 3 feet in the very center and be shallow and shelved on the sides. But this is just one of the new elements here. This is the one I'm most excited about. This will be probably a 200 to 300 hour project. And this is a 50-foot diameter pond that should be able to go about 3 to 4 feet deep. So potentially holding hundreds of thousands of gallons of water in the landscape. I'm using this gas-powered BCS walk-behind tractor with an implement called the rotary plow, which digs anywhere from 8 to 12 inches deep and about 8 to 12 inches wide. It doesn't beat the soil up very much, it just cores through it and kicks it off to the side. And then all I have to do, air quotes, all I have to do is dig up each scoop of soil and bring it out. You can see this area is starting to get a little deeper. It's about 4 to 6 inches deep now. And this one bank is finalized. That's all set to purple top turnip with this nice wall of miscanthus behind it. And there are some islands in here that I'll leave for now. There's an American persimmon and a block of miscanthus grass that both I'd like to dig out, but I'm going to wait till they're dormant in the fall. But then the rest of it, we're just doing pass by pass and getting the soil out of here. I won't say much more about this in this video because that can be its own discussion. I might even make a playlist. But the goal is to make something in this landscape that can hold upwards to 300,000 gallons of water at the highest part of our land here. Be a really nice element for sure. Many moving parts out here on the west end of this property. Just about 4 or 5 years ago, if you can imagine, this whole area out here was a closed canopy of some haggard Scots pine, European buckthorn, graybark dogwood, and Japanese honeysuckle, and a bunch of other plants as well. But through clearing and charring of that material, laying up brush on the brush wall, it's really opened up into a very productive potential space. And now we're just kind of sketching out piece by piece, how do we fill out the landscape? How do we get depressions here or there to hold more water? How do we build up so we get better drainage and more production? And just keep evolving this system out here. We'll have to see how things go on, but we'll be doing some more digging and some more building and seeding. Hopefully the next time we do a tour of this space, as we get towards September, early October, there's just walls and walls of root crops in all these beds where the garlic was, and lots of ponds that are starting to hold water as we get into the more swollen, wet time of year, and have that water in areas where we can pull it up and send it onto these beds or send it up into these batteries and store it where we need it. That's enough for now, I think. Long enough for now. Thanks for watching. We'll do some updates soon on our air prune beds and specifically the nursery. It feels like we're in a good position to offer lots and lots of plants this fall. We appreciate your patience in waiting for that. We anticipate updating our inventory September 1st, and we'll send an email out, but I'll make a video explaining what we'll have. We've got some great new exciting plants this fall that we're looking forward to sending your way and having grow where you live. Thank you so much for watching. Hope your gardens are growing well. Take care.